Well, good morning and welcome to the LBJ Grasslands. I know that sounds strange. Usually it's good evening and we're about to go on a night exercise. I'm actually out here doing something very unusual. I'm going to go for more or less a fun hike this morning. Well, it's not all fun and games. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to practice natural land navigation. And I'm going to try to navigate a route along the grasslands that I've never been without map, compass, or GPS. So let's get started. Now, I've been watching the sun come up, and so I have a pretty good idea of east-west lines so far. That direction is approximately north, and what I'm going to do is head out roughly east. Then I believe I can pick up a trail. I don't know for sure, but I believe I'd pick up a trail that will work around southwest. I want to head back towards the entrance to the grasslands and see if I can find the windmill that I passed on the way in. Once I get there, well, I don't know, we'll make it up as we go. Like I said, I'm not using map, compass, or GPS, and along the way, I'll give you an idea of some of the techniques that I use. All right, let's get started. So this is the shortcut trail I came in on. I've been about 150 yards. Now, how do I know that? I use what's called pace count. So this is a fairly simple technique. Get all of your gear on, go out to something really flat where you know the exact distance. Football field is perfect because that's 100 yards. So just take your normal pace and go out and back and then average the two together. And then I like to round up to the next multiple of 4. So here's a pace. I start out, so left and 1, left and 2, and just take your normal pace. And then that gives you approximately the number of paces in 100 yards. The reason I round up to the next nearest multiple 4, my pace count is 60, is it makes it real easy to take a segment of 100 yards and divide it into quarters. So I can say, well, I've been roughly 125 or roughly 150 yards. And the most I'm ever going to be off is the midpoint, which is about 12 to 13 yards. Anyway, I've come to this fork here. And so I've actually gone off in that direction and explored in the past. So what I'm going to do is take this part of the fork, which I believe is the continuation of the red trail. And this should eventually take us back south and west. Now, what I believe and what is real could very well be two different things. So I'm continuing to note the position of the sun throughout the day. I'm using that for orientation. I know where the road is. That's roughly, always going to be roughly west of my position, so that is a bailout. So now we're going to go in this direction and see what we find. Okay, so it looks like this trail is making the turn in the direction I want. There's the sun, and if that's roughly out to the east, and if I want to go southwest, this is the correct turn. But I'm going to be coming back through here, and the thing you have to always worry about is look at offshoots. We got kind of an offshoot trail in this direction. It kind of merges into the trail I'm on now. This will be a fork on the way back. Now, one of the things I've mentioned in previous land nav videos is tracking. I've always asked the question, what's the most important creature you need to be able to track in the wilderness? And the answer is yourself. It's kind of amazing how many people I've run into who are very accomplished hikers and backpackers, and they have no idea what their own tracks look like. Now, on the one hand, we've got a lot of soft dirt, but we've had some rains recently, so it's a bit on the moist side, and it's clogging up my treads, so I'm not leaving as definitive a track as I might normally. And while I should be able to remember that I want to take the very well-groomed wide trail. I want to make sure I don't do something boneheaded and take the offset trail. So as an extra safety valve, you can see I've made a very large arrow to help me on the way back. So when you're out like this, and especially if you're using natural land nav techniques, take advantage of everything the terrain offers. I'll position sticks, rocks, dirt clods. I'll show you maybe a little later on about how to use survey tape, but leave yourself breadcrumbs. These things can be very helpful. All right, well, we're going to head off in this direction and see if my supposition is correct or I'm just a complete idiot. All right, I agree. Don't say it, don't say it. Here we go. Well, this is the direction that I came, and as you look at this trail, it kind of goes off to my right, and then it looks like it may go back around this way. I don't know. We've picked up a fence line, which is actually good. This is private property, and about half the acreage out here at the Grasslands is private property. But this also gives me an additional boundary, an additional marker, and it looks like we can walk straight along the fence line. So I'm going to give that a try. Now, if this turns out to be a bad idea and I want to backtrack, I'm using distance, and you'll notice that I put some red surveyor tape right there. So that marks the entrance to this place where I'm going to have to make a critical decision and may have to backtrack. So you can see that I reached a fork and I bared right. Now, why did I go right? I mean, it looks like there's an awfully nice path that follows that fence line, but I don't know the extent of this private property. And that's probably from the property owner inspecting the outer edge of the fence line. My belief is that we're still on the red trail here, and the trail most likely goes off in this direction. But if for some reason I have to backtrack, that's why I keep up with my pace count. So let's say I go 275 yards, I need to backtrack. I can always get back to this point and say, well, you know, I messed up. It's time to take the left fork. Maybe that really was the way to go. Or I just head on back. And I've also noticed that the road is out in that direction. That's good. The sun is off to my left, which is where it should be. We're back to heading more or less south in that direction. And the road is my bailout, and it's just off to the right. So everything is aligned in the correct orientation right now. So I'm going to keep heading in this direction. Well, look who keeps following me. They must think that I'm the guy that has all the food. They've been following me ever since I left. The other thing I want to show you is that as I look down here, I don't have very definitive tracks, but they're very deep. And I'm pretty much the only thing out on two legs right now. So there's so much soft dirt out here, I could almost follow my own footprints all the way back. Now we'll see if that holds up. Once again, I may just be an idiot, but I wonder how far they're going to follow me. I don't know. Let's find out. I don't know if you can see it, but the windmill is straight ahead in that direction. So if I continue down this path here, I would make it to my goal. I can see the road from here. This path clearly goes to the road. I think there's a continuation across the road. I've never been there, so I think that's the direction I'm going to go. Now when I come back through here, I want to make sure that I just go in the right direction. And so again, I've left some red surveyor tape as a reminder. Is that really necessary? No, it's probably overkill, but you know, the more breadcrumbs you leave, the better. So I've moved across the road, and here we have yet another nice path. This is almost too easy. In fact, I would say in terms of natural land nav, this is probably a beginner exercise, but you have to start somewhere, and I think the techniques are very important. Notice, most importantly, the sun is now to my back and left. And it looks like this trail is kind of heading off in that direction. The road is back there, so I'm always going to keep where the road is in mind. That's a natural boundary. Roads are also lifelines, but I can use the orientation of the sun and some breadcrumbs to make decisions on how to get back to the road. Once I get back to the road, it should be pretty easy to follow the path back to the truck. Well, I've come to another fork, and they even left a marker for me. I guess that means the white trail goes off in this direction, red trail to the left. Well, I thought I wanted to maintain being on the red trail, so I'm going to go left. Now, I've noticed that this ground is leaving much better tracks. I can very easily recognize my footprints. But in terms to which direction do I go, I don't know how far I'm going off in this direction. So when I get back to this marker, what I want to do is use the sun, because as the sun goes over, I'm not going to be out so long that it's going to go way behind me. Now, it's going to still be more or less in this orientation, and that tells me where the road is. If I can just remember, no matter where I am, keep that orientation to where's the road. The road is that way. So when I get here, I just want to turn in the direction of the road. If I'm confused, I can look along the dirt till I catch one of my boot prints, and that will tell me for sure, or it's a backup for the backup. All right, let's head on in this direction, and then we'll see what we can see. Well, I've come out of the woods into kind of this clearing, so I think I'm going to take a break here, hydrate, and then I'm going to start working my way back. So first question is, where is the road? Road is in roughly that direction. I mean, actually kind of going that way. Now, the sun was behind me and to the left on the way out, so it should be ahead of me and to the right on the way back. So even if I moved around here and went out and explored in that direction, and oh look, there's a marker, so I make it back to my marker, and which way do I go? Well, I put the sun ahead of me to the right. I know I've got to go back that way. And as a backup to the backup, I could use this brush right here. And this is another way to leave yourself a breadcrumb, is that I remember taking this, putting it off in that direction in the trail. So again, you can use anything that the terrain provides you in terms of breadcrumbs. So like I said, I'm going to take a brief break, and then we'll head on back, and we've got to follow our marks, our landmarks, and breadcrumbs all the way back to the truck. Well, I've gone off exploring out in this open area. I've got back out in the trees. There are a bunch of clearings. I've just been walking all over everywhere. Now, am I completely lost? As I look around, I don't see the trail. Uh-oh, what happened to me? Well, before you run off like this, use some natural markers. So you see that dead tree right in front of me? That's my marker. I don't know if you can see, but the trail mile marker is directly behind that. And then I've got my two big pine trees there just to the left. All of those together serve as markers, so I can go all around here, and as long as I maintain orientation of those markers, I can get back. In fact, now I can see the mile marker. Oh, and there's the edge of the trail. So now I can work my way back to the trail, but I've been out doing this for 10 or 15 minutes. Which way do I go when I get to the trail? Did I leave myself a breadcrumb at that marker? No. So what's my number one question? Which way is the road? Always know which direction is the road. Off in this direction. I wanted to put the sun where? Ahead of me and to the right. Okay? Sun right up there. So I know automatically when I get to that trail, I need to head back in that direction. What's my next marker? It was that tree stump where they had the red and white mark, and then we'll decide to go where from there. Okay, we just made the turn from the mile marker. Remember that breadcrumb, so we know we're going in the right direction. And then, I don't know if you can see it down there, that is the very definitive tread of my Rocky Alpha Force boots. So I have the sun, I have a breadcrumb, and I have my own tracks to indicate that we are going in the correct direction. All right, there's our marker. There's the fork. I can go this way or this way. Which way do I go? Now, I didn't leave myself any type of return mark. No breadcrumbs here. But which way is the road? I should know that the road's that way. Sun should have been ahead of me and to the right the whole way back on this leg. There's the sun, so I've got to head back towards the sun to make it to the road. Then we'll cross the road. Once we cross the road, we were headed predominantly south and west on the way out. We'll be headed predominantly north and east on the way back. So let's get back to the road, get across it, and then work our way back to the truck. Oh, well, what about this? I didn't leave myself much of a breadcrumb. Which of these two paths do I take? Well, the windmill is in that direction. We were searching for the windmill or moving towards the windmill as we came in. So we'll be moving away from it on the way back. I also know that I should keep the sun largely behind me and to the right. So this is the direction that we want to go. And remember, we know where the road is. If this turns out to be completely bogus, we can always backtrack. And in the absolute worst case, that's the direction I came in. I know this road eventually goes out, turns off to the right. We could just take the road back north and east and make it back to the truck this way. But we're going to backtrack the same way that we came as part of the exercise. But always remember what your bailouts and what your loops are, because those can be helpful, especially in an emergency situation. But again, I'm always going to keep in mind where the road is and where the sun should be throughout the return leg. So that's not very good territory, but we'll just have to work our way through it. As you can see, I've been walking off to the right side of this path. It's a lot easier trekking. So there's the path that goes off to the windmill. You might be able to see the windmill right there. I want to make sure that this is the path I'm supposed to be going. The sun is definitely in the right direction, but it always helps to have some confirmation. And if you look ahead of me, you might see the red surveyor tape in the wind. Ah, that's one of the breadcrumbs we put out, so we know we are on the right track. It was on my right side on the outbound, and it's on my left side on the return. So everything is looking good. Okay, sun on my right, private property on my right, fence line on my right. All of this was on my left on the outbound, and you probably can't see it, but right there by those two cows is the other, so there we go, surveyor tape marker that we left. That was on my right hand side on the outbound. It's on my left hand side on the return. So far, so good. Well, we made the big turn. I'm moving in this direction. We put the sun back predominantly behind me, kind of behind me, and more or less is the right way for the inbound path. But just to make sure, remember that big arrow that I carved into the left side of the trail on our outbound to indicate the return direction? There it is. So once again, that's just additional confirmation that we need to head in this direction, and the sun and other markers should lead us right back to the truck. Oh my, well, here we are at a fork. This would have been what I would call a merge trail on the way out. I can go this direction, or I can go this direction. Now, easiest way to resolve this is which one keeps the sun predominantly at my back. Remember that east-west line established on the way out? I want to keep the sun at my back on this final return leg. So I would reason that way. And to help myself out, I picked up this stick and put it in the return direction. So I left myself a little breadcrumb. Even though technically I don't need it, I may have come through here at a much different time of the day. I never know that. So, you know, breadcrumbs can always help you out when you're using natural nav techniques. So we don't have very far, maybe about 150 yards back to the truck, and then we'll wrap this up. Well, here we are back at the truck. Wind has really picked up, and don't want to let wind noise ruin the recording that much. Overall, this is a pretty simple exercise. We followed predominantly named groomed trails, but we did take a side expedition, and we made our way back. No map, compass, or GPS. I hope you enjoyed some of the techniques. Before you get out and do stuff like this, practice with compass navigation first. Get a good handle on distance and bearing. I did that for over a year out here at the Grasslands before I ever did my first natural land nav exercise. Now, if you're interested in this stuff, we can definitely ramp it up. This is a pretty easy exercise. You know, Bear Grylls and Joe Ted-I from Dual Survivor, they're watching this video and, you know, falling asleep. Oh my God, I could have done that, you know, with my hands tied behind my back and blindfolded. You know what? They probably could. Like I said, this one was pretty easy, but the techniques are the same no matter whether it's easy or hard. And another thing we can do is get more off the beaten trail, and we can potentially navigate loops instead of just out and back. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know, and we'll get out here again some morning and do it all over, but on a much more complex exercise. As always, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time.